Hey guys. Not sure if you guys can see me yet. Can somebody pop something in the chat if y'all can see me? There's like a lag on my computer, so I have no idea if you guys are actually seeing me yet or not. But good morning. Let me make sure my chat is working. Hopefully that is working. Welcome, welcome. Looks like a few of you got bounced out possibly, so I hope everybody is doing well. I'm gonna wait to get into what we're gonna be discussing today and everything until some more people have had a chance to hop on, but I hope everybody is doing great. I hope everybody is having a better week than I've been having. We'll get into that in a bit. Hopefully the lighting is okay in here. I feel like it got darker since I started the live. Hold on. Bump the light up just a little bit. Hopefully that's not too much light. But basically, you guys, we are going to just be hanging out and chatting today. I feel like I kind of owe you guys a little bit of an explanation for some things, primarily the fact that I have not, since probably November, had the most consistent video posting schedule, and I've kind of hinted here and there about a few things that have caused that, but I had a realization earlier this week that there's something else going on that's kind of been, I guess, unknowingly leading to that as well. But then also, and I want to share some plant updates with you guys, because during this crappy week that I've been having, I think it was just so bad that it made me notice some of the good things going on around me that much more, if that makes sense. And so I just kept looking, and I'd be like all upset. I'd turn, I'd be like, oh my gosh, look what that plant's doing. Like, and it kind of really helped me get through this week. So I'm going through it, you guys. I'm going through it. Like I said, I hope everybody else is doing better. All right, so let's actually kick off before we get into the not great stuff that's been going on. And I feel like maybe I should give some kind of trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about mental health stuff a little bit. Nobody has passed away or anything like that, so we aren't going to be having any sad things like that. This is more just stress related, overwhelm, burnout, mental health type related things, but just want to be clear about that up front, just in case that is, something that's triggering to anybody. But like I said, we are going to be looking at some plants today. And so why don't we look at a plant first, because I was most excited about this plant that's sitting next to me right now. I will say, actually, every plant I have to give an update on today is an Anthetherum, you guys. I swear, when I trash talk Anthetherum in videos, the next week, it's like all the Anthetherum gang up and are like, oh, we're going to prove you wrong. So I included the multiple Anthetherum in my spring purge video that you guys got. I think that was the last video you got. And then all the Anthetherum decided they were going to start behaving better. But the one I'm most excited about is my Pink Lemonade by Bessier AFF by Carla Blackier. So this is the one that I rehabbed last year and ended up putting into leca, and it gave me a bunch of janky new leaves, because that's just what rehab plants do sometimes. These are funky, not perfect leaves, but it has now given me a new perfect leaf, and I think it's going to be the biggest leaf once it fully sizes up and hardens off that this plant has ever given me. So I am super excited. Am I lagging, you guys? I see somebody said I am lagging. Double lag speaking? Oh, what is going on? Because it's working, like on my phone it seems to be running at normal speed, but I have it up in, YouTube has like a live studio that you can have up on your computer too, which I have it up over there because it's easier for me to see your chats on my computer screen. Is anybody else getting the lag, or is it still happening, Erica? It's like double speak. Ooh. Why is it doing that? That's weird. I wonder if that has anything to do with how you're watching it, maybe on your phone. I don't know. Is anybody else experiencing that? Can I get yes or no's from people? Because if everybody's experiencing it, I will probably back out. if it ends up just being Erica, maybe try, looks like everybody else is saying it's okay. Maybe try bumping out and then coming back in and see if that helps resolve the issue. Okay, because everybody else is saying it's okay. So hopefully maybe if you go out and come back in, that'll help. But anyways, yes, so super excited about this Anthetherum finally getting back to how it was before. And we have a lot of other Anthetheums we're gonna look at over the course of this live stream, and one Hoya. It's not all Anthetherum. But I will tell you guys, I am going through it. So I will say I did start getting off on my video uploads back in November, I think. And a lot of that from November through January was partially holidays. Like I kind of decided I wasn't going to stress myself out. Perfect, Erica. Glad it's working. I decided I wasn't going to stress myself out this past holiday season with trying to get ahead of videos and everything so I could actually take off and spend time with family. And even then I ended up doing like the video of my sister's plants when I was at her house because everybody else was doing other things. So I was like, why not? But I think that's where I originally started getting off. But I have come to the conclusion now, because I've gotten off a little bit since then. I've missed videos with you guys and whatnot on some weekends. I've come to the conclusion now that I was going through it mental health wise. And I think a couple weeks ago in the back of my mind, I started thinking like, okay, I feel like maybe something's wrong. Like depression, something just felt off. And then I started thinking more about it and I was like, I kind of feel like I've been feeling this way for a while. And so I really kind of shoved it out of my mind and was like, well, I'll address that when I have time to think about it. Just don't do that, you guys. If you have like an inkling that maybe something's off with you, don't just shove it down, because when you shove it down and then something bad happens, you just completely lose it. And that's what happened to me on Tuesday of this week. Hey girl, good to see you too. I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep up with the chat too while I tell you guys this story, so just bear with me, because it's only the second live I've done with you guys, so I'm still not totally used to doing this. But so basically what happened earlier this week, and for those of you who might not know, I do work what I call a gap income job. It's a filler job. It's a really great job in the sense of I work from home. I can work whenever I want. I don't really report to anybody. I don't have a set number of hours. Like I can work from wherever I want. It's like really just do it when you want to do it kind of a job. And I had gotten roped into a sort of management role with them well over a year ago now that didn't end well. And I had explained that, I don't even know, maybe a year and a half ago now in a Repot and Chat video, that they basically just laid all of us off and then ended up eventually letting us all go back to just being regular level workers. And at that time that happened, like it was really annoying, but I didn't have like a massive breakdown or anything, because I actually ended up being able to make more money just not doing the management role. And so I was kind of like, oh well, but it still irked me because when they did that to us, and they did it to like 300 people at once, they didn't give anybody a heads up. They didn't tell anybody what was going on. We all just woke up one morning and had lost access to everything to be able to do our job. And it took hours before anybody told us what was going on. They did eventually though tell us what was going on. So that happened. I've put that behind me, but then I got roped into sort of a management role with them again a while back, but not really. It's basically like they wanted top performing people to help other people who were maybe good but could be better become top performing people. So they gave us groups of people to kind of like help build up. And so it's kind of like I'm still just doing what I was doing before, but now I get bonuses for helping these people become better workers who produce higher quality work, if that makes sense. Now I do have like now a minimum required hours, but it's 5 hours a week. That's like nothing, right? So I've been doing this and it's been really great, because it's kind of like, it had some of the aspects of that management role that they forced me into a while back, or not forced me into, talked me into a while back. And then just the regular things I was doing, which were actually making me more money anyway. So it's actually resulted in me being able to work less hours sometimes than I was before while making more money. So all that to say, you guys, it's something that I would never jeopardize. And I want that to be clear right now. Like I would never do anything that would potentially get me demoted out of this position. And Tuesday, just going about my business, working along, went to go check on questions from my people that I'm helping build up. And come to find out that I've lost access to my people that I'm building up. And then I noticed that they had changed my name in our like program. We use this kind of like Slack to talk to each other and everything, and had removed my title from the end of my name. And nobody told me anything. Nobody told me anything. Nobody said a word. I got pulled out of all of the channels related to the position I was doing. I immediately reached out to the other people who are in this position with me on the same team and was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I don't know what's going on. I was worried I was getting falsely banned from the company, because with this company, they have some pretty strict rules about like, you can't be using a VPN when you're working. You can't like make it, if it looks like you and another person were both using the same computer, like you could get banned from the company. Like there's just all these rules. And a lot of times people get falsely banned. So I thought that's what was happening. So I reached out to my fellow coworkers and said, hey, can you reach out to the management team and be like, what's going on? Because our team knows we're not like trying to scam this company or anything, so they will get us brought back on. I seriously thought this was what was happening, you guys, until nobody answered me from the management team. Nobody answered my coworkers from the management team. Everybody went radio silent. My people that I was working with to build up were DMing me, freaking out, like, why is the channel gone? Where are you? It says you've been muted. At one point, they actually muted me, made it to where I couldn't even communicate on the platform. All of this with no explanation whatsoever. And I just like completely lost it. And I tried to remain like calm for the first few hours, because I was like, it's just a mistake. It's just a mistake. But the longer it went on, the more I was like, it's not just a mistake. And why won't anybody reach out to me? And I eventually got an email saying that my squad, my group of people that I was building up, has been disbanded, but that I should continue working on the project as just a regular person. And I'm like, well, this is even more awkward, because if we're going to be working together on this project and you're not communicating with me what's happening right now, that's really awkward, right? So I was okay from, this started about 2 p.m. on Tuesday. I was fairly okay until about probably 4 or 5 p.m. and I just completely broke down. I completely lost it. I had the most massive breakdown I've had probably since I got divorced. Like, it was insane, you guys. And I finally realized, I think mentally, my mental health was just not in a good place. I had been suppressing it down. And the fact that these people who I've worked so hard for, and I've worked in this role for a year now with the same team of people, and I put all my all into it, and like, I'm just like, in my mind, I was like, am I just that horrible or that like insignificant that these people are just going to basically demote me and not even have a conversation with me, not even tell me why? We have guidelines for the role that actually states if you're doing something that doesn't, meet the requirements of the role, that you will be talked to about it and given a chance to fix it before a demotion will happen. And that did not happen. And I just sat there racking my brain trying to come up with what could have caused this, because there was nothing I could really think of. I started grasping at straws, and all my coworkers were like, no, because if that was the case, then so-and-so would have been demoted a year ago, So it just really got upsetting, and it made me start to feel a bit worthless. And I just had, like I said, a complete and total meltdown, like to the point of the next day, my face hurt so bad from crying. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I guess I just overworked all the muscles in my face and whatnot. So it was really stressful. That's why you guys actually aren't getting a pre-recorded video today, and we're doing this instead. But it just made me realize that that was probably just the straw that broke the camel's back in what was already going on, which I don't even know what everything is. I think I'm just feeling a bit burnout, because I, first of all, work almost every single day, at least part of the day. I think I'm definitely a bit stressed out with the situation with my mom and her Alzheimer's, which is getting worse. And my dad, is really struggling to deal with that. I think I'm just a little bit overwhelmed in general with trying to manage all of the jobs and the revenue streams and everything that I have just solely on my own. It's a lot to do. I think that this other job too had it always slows down a little bit at the beginning of the year. And so it's hard for me to have any kind of set schedule, basically. And so it was like, I would plan to film a video on this day, and then something would happen and it would be like, well, this might be the only chance you have to work this week at this job. So I'd be like, all right, well, I better work all day over there. And then film tomorrow. And then the next day they'd be like, oh, just kidding, we have about 5 more hours you could get in over here. So it's like, well, I better do that because I don't know when I'm gonna be able to work again. Like, it's just been kind of crazy. And I think also I'm just kind of at that point post-divorce where it's starting to get, I don't know if I'm gonna say like I'm lonely because sometimes when I think about like dating again and everything, like I'm like, I don't even want to deal with that. But I think it is starting to get to the point where like I'm at that age and I've been divorced long enough that I'm like, I'm sitting at home by myself a lot with nobody to talk to. And I think that started to weigh on me. So I think it's just been a combination of all these things. And it just all just blew up on me on Tuesday. And I still don't know, you guys, what I did wrong. Finally, one of my coworkers had a late night meeting about something else with one of our project's admins, and come to find out he was the one who demoted me. And she basically was like, you don't have to tell me what's going on or why, but she's not in a good state and she's one of the best people we have. There were other people who are more worthy of being demoted for things before this. And if anything, you at least owe her an explanation, because she's just sitting over there like, what did I do? And so she just thankfully brought this up. I didn't ask her to bring it up. I didn't even know she was having a meeting with him, but she brought it up and she convinced him to walk it back. So right after she got off the meeting with him, he messaged me and was like, hey, I'm going to reinstate you. Still did not tell me what I did wrong. Said it would be addressed in a meeting he was going to hold with all of us the next day. So he held a meeting with all of us the next day in which he talked about not, how did he put it? Well, first of all, he had it written as people with big mouths. And I'm like, big mouths? Like, what are you talking about? Like, so he basically was saying people shouldn't be gossiping about people on the project team, which I don't gossip about people on the project team. He said people should not be making rude comments in our platform we use that's like Slack. I don't make rude comments. And the funny thing is, you guys, there was a lot of thrash going on for the week leading up to this happening where other people, my coworkers in the same role, were saying things and doing things where I was like, what are you doing? You are going to get demoted. Like, I can't believe you just wrote that out. And so I stayed out of it because I was just like, I got no interest in being demoted right now. So like, I literally purposefully stayed out of it. So the fact that he's kind of alluding to what all those people were doing somehow led to me getting demoted was highly confusing. And the only thing I could finally come up with that possibly could have triggered this, and even everybody I tell says, you know, this is so ridiculous, was that we had a meeting on Tuesday around noon. And basically, a bunch of us, we were presented this whole thing and a bunch of us raised our hands in this Zoom meeting. And this particular person just ignored that we all had our hands up. And other people were posting in the chat for the meeting, hey, a bunch of people have questions. We still had time left in the meeting. And he's like, all right, well, if y'all don't have any questions, well then, okay, all right, nobody questions? No questions? All right, bye guys. And like stopped the meeting. And I'm like, what? And so I went into my point of contacts chat group and was like, hey, I was going to ask this in the meeting, but John ignored everybody who had their hands up. So I'm asking it to you, even though I don't know if you can answer it. Here's my question. That's literally all I said. And in less than an hour, I had been demoted. So I think somehow he took offense to me saying he ignored all of us with our hands up when really I was just stating a fact. That's the only thing I can think it is. I think it's absolutely ridiculous if I got demoted for that reason, considering what other people had been doing. But once again, this all just weighed on me. And the bigger thing that was the issue to me was that nobody felt I was worthy enough to be given an explanation for this. I really kind of wish I didn't need this job right now, because like when things like this happen, sometimes it's like you almost want to just be like, F you, like put people in their place. Like that's toxic the way you're behaving. So I wish I could do that, but I can't. If anybody else has experienced this, drop some notes in the chat and let me know. I'm sure a lot of you have worked in similar crazy work environments, but I would love to know how you've handled situations like this. While you guys are dropping some notes though, let's look at some more plant updates that I noticed while I was bawling my eyes out on Tuesday. And one of the ones that I noticed was another rehabbed Anthetherum. Hi, foliage hunter. And this is my Anthetherum. Oh, I just blanked. This is my Lux by LLB or LLB by Lux. I forget which order the names are in, but the very fun textured look from the Luxurians cross here. And this is the one of the ones that I also rehabbed in moss. I'm going to move this into pond here shortly. I'm waiting on some more self-watering pots to come in, but rehabbed it. It finally gave me this tiny little perfect new leaf, but look at this new leaf it just started pushing out, you guys. Look at the size up on that. Not even fully hardened off yet. It's going to get even bigger, but this is what I've been waiting for almost 2 years now, because I had never gotten leaves bigger than this before I started to have this rehab process. So I am so excited that this one is giving me a nice, giant, beautiful, perfect new leaf. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. A toxic job will really do horrible things to your mental health. Yes, it will. And the funny thing is it's never really felt toxic before, you guys, because I just kind of stayed out of any of the drama. Like, I'm like, all right, whatever. And so, I mean, I guess I'm older than a lot of these people too. So I think for me, it's like, I was that way when I was younger. Don't get me wrong. When you're young, you want to be like, I call foul. You guys are like, you shouldn't be acting this way. You shouldn't whatever. But you know, the older you get, the more you realize sometimes that will get you into trouble. So like, I have tried to stay out of it. And I think that's what was more upsetting to me. And in the meeting we had the day after, they also implemented this new 1 strike rule, and 2nd strike, you're gone. And like, I know that was all in response to me, but what still really bothers me is clearly I have a strike now, but I still don't even know what the strike was for. And I'm scared to ask because I don't want to like keep bringing it up. You know what I mean? So I have no idea. It's just so absurd, you guys. And the only other thing I could think is if somebody, because I contact with my fellow coworkers of the same position. Like, a lot of us talk offline, if you will, like off of the actual company platforms. And like, we have group chats over there and stuff where we say things we're thinking that, you know, we'd never say on the actual online platforms or whatever. Not because they're necessarily rude, but just because we're just like, did that really just happen? Like, what is going on? That kind of thing. And so the only other thing I can think is that somebody in one of those groups has become a bit of a mole and has gone and shared something with someone, but it just seems so abrupt. And the fact that it happened so close to when I posted that comment about the meeting and people with their hands raised being ignored, which is in and of itself, I don't think that was rude. I mean, it's just a fact. Like, everybody who was in that meeting watched it happen. So I don't know. Like I said, it could have been something else, but that's the only thing I could think of. So let's see, you did a job for 18 years, in a toxic work environment and then leaving. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing, you guys, part of the reason I left, well, part of the reason I chose not to go back to the normal corporate world, which this is definitely not a normal corporate world job, is because I just couldn't handle the office politics, honestly. Like, it was just ridiculous. And so, and I mean, like, the office politics in the sense of trying to like almost step on each other to climb the corporate ladder kind of stuff, like, it really irked me. And at least I don't have to deal with that at this company, because everybody's it's the weirdest organizational structure I've ever seen at this company. Nobody really reports to anybody from my level down. And then everybody above us, like, it's very like, this group of people reports to this person and this person. And then everybody else they work with on a team, none of them report to each other. They all go straight up. So they're all kind of considered equals, if you will, even though their positions aren't really equal. You know, some have more say over what's going on a project and things like that. But the fact that they don't actually report to each other actually kind of makes things a little bit better in my mind, because then it's not like they're trying to one up each other to get promotions or things like that, if that makes sense. So from that sense, it's always been better, but I don't know. I have a ton of patience with my plants. So you know what? I think, Chris, this is because I used to not have patience with people. And once again, it got me in trouble, like, a lot when I was younger. Even like, the other thing is I will defend anybody and everybody who is wronged about something. And I did that at a job once when I was younger, in my 20s. I defended a girl that I'm still really good friends with. Well, you know, Chris and Megan, who I filmed the rescuing their plants video about this time last year over at their place while they were on vacation. Megan and I met working for a company with we had a very toxic boss. Actually, there was a lot of weird things that weren't necessarily toxic, but were highly questionable practices at that company. But when I was working there, there was like a misunderstanding over ordering lunch between her and our boss, and our boss got really angry at her, and then Megan defended herself back, and I tried to be the voice of reason and calm them in the situation. And in that process, my boss viewed it as me siding with Megan, and she decided she was going to try to get both of us fired. And so she basically went on this mission for months to try to get us both fired, and she did get Megan fired. And so it was just like a ridiculous situation, but the fact that I would not relent and tell my boss that she was right and Megan was wrong, because she kept trying to get me to do that, basically was the end of it for me in her eyes. And so I have learned through experiences like that over the years that I will hands down defend somebody who's being wrong, but the level to which and the extent to which I will push it, I have backed off in terms of a job. Like, and if it's something where I feel like they aren't willing to understand that what they're doing is wrong, then I'll start looking for another job. Now, outside of work, I don't back off. If you wrong somebody I care about, like, I'm gonna go to town, you know? But it's just something that I've learned as I've gotten older. Like, if you want to not be unemployed for who knows how long, like, just shut your trap, find a new job, that kind of thing. And so I think that's what it is. But my patience has actually gotten better just in general in life as I've gotten older, especially over the course of the last probably 10 years. So at least there's that. Annette, what do I do? So I used to, until I guess 3 years ago now, I was working in marketing and design. So that's what I had done for, I don't even know how many years anymore, 17 years, something like that, at a management level for various different types of companies. And then I got laid off because we had been acquired by another company. And over the course of the first 2 years of acquirement, they had regularly like eliminated certain duplicate roles and then certain roles that they weren't sure if they needed and whatever. So that's what happened there. And that's when I decided not to go back to the corporate world. And I really tried to build up the plant business in YouTube enough to where I could just live off that. But I just wasn't able to do it as quickly as I really needed to. So I looked for gap income work, and I actually found this place I work at now, thanks to one of you guys telling me to check out Boss from Home on YouTube. That's how I found this. And so I'm also not going to tell you exactly what company I work for because, like I said, they have some pretty strict rules about things. I have told people in the past, if you are interested in working for this company, which now you guys are going to be like, I don't want to work for this company. But honestly, you don't have these experiences if you're not in the position that I'm in right now. But I have shared referral links with people in the past, but I can't just mass broadcast that. So I know it's hard for me to say, but basically it is, how do I put this? It's, I don't know how much I can actually tell you guys. Let's just say it involves AI. I'll just leave it at that. It involves AI. I'm sure some of you can probably figure it out from there. And there's enough companies now that it would be almost impossible for you to fully figure out necessarily which company it is. I'm just trying to be cautious because, like I said, they're a little bit weird about things. I've seen people like do mass posts about, hey, you want to come work with me over here on like LinkedIn and things, and get like banned from the company because it's against their policies. So all right, Annette said that's good enough. So yeah, so that's what's been going on. I know I'm all like smiley and everything right now. That's kind of why the thumbnail for this live was the thumbnail it was, where I'm like smiling and like it's like everything's fine, but there's all the flames all around, because that's kind of how I feel. It's like I'm trying not to just suppress down what's going on. Like I need to actually take some time to address the underlying issues that kind of led to the full-fledged breakdown. I do kind of feel like I am just slightly burned out on everything, and the one thing that I really don't want to cut back on is videos on YouTube, because it's the thing that I like the most, but unfortunately it's also the thing that pays the least. So that's kind of why I'm just like, I'm stressing out a bit. I'm like, do I keep just staying stressed like this and keep doing YouTube because like I don't want the algorithm to hate on me, I don't want my growth to halt or slide backwards? Or do I just say, hey, this is the only logical thing to cut back on from a financial standpoint, and cut back on it? So I kind of just don't know where I'm at like with it right now. It's really kind of hard to decide. I will say doing things like live streams like this is a little bit easier, but just doing live streams is not necessarily going to cut it, even though these do get turned into videos that people who aren't joining the live right now can watch later on. So I don't know, I've got to rethink that situation, but let me show you some other plants that I pulled. So we do also have, because somebody really liked my Lux cross that we just showed. So this is my David Portilla Dreams Anthetherum. This is another luxuriance crossed with Forgetii. And beautiful, beautiful plant that just took forever to really start growing for me and still doesn't grow super fast. This was the last new leaf it gave me. And it's been a long time, probably maybe 9 months ago, but it is now pushing out a new leaf, and it gets the most beautiful reddish toned leaves when they first come in, and it's always very ruffly looking until it completely hardens off. And even then, sometimes the one it's kind of killing off is a bit ruffly as well. But super excited to be getting a new one on that, and super excited that this one doesn't give me deformed leaves, because a lot of my luxuriance crosses have a tendency to want to give me deformed leaves or leaves with holes in them, things like that. So that's another reason I was super knocking things off. Super happy that this one was like pristine when it came in too. So the only luxuriance cross I have that's still giving me issues is my favorite one, which is my Red Crystal Lux from Woohoo's Tropicals. And we aren't going to look at that one because it's still trying to rehab, and it had a new leaf going on coming in after I had cut off all the leaves that I thought had a fungal issue, and Scooter bit the leaf off at the stem. The like baby leaf, and it was going to be a deformed leaf, but it was about this big and it was coming in. I was like, all right, we're good. We got rid of the like fungal ones. I treated it. And I look over while I was working in here one day, and I just see Scooter like bat the leaf and go on the stem of it, the petiole of it, and the whole thing fell off on the floor. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And now it's struggling to put out a new leaf. It started getting a little bit of rot on the roots because I had recently watered it when Scooter did that. So then it didn't have foliage to do anything with. So then it was sitting too wet for long. So it's getting rehabbed. I had to pull it out of the soil, everything. I think that was at the end of last week that I did that. So hopefully I'll get that one back on track. But also this, oh, I'm gonna forget what this cross is. I got this from Aeroid Asia. This is my, oh, what is it? I think it's a crystal light, Red Crystal by Pap by Dark Phoenix, I think is what it is. It definitely has Dark Phoenix, definitely has Red Crystal, and I'm pretty sure the other one is Pap. But this one has not been giving me, well, I mean, it hasn't given me a new leaf in a while. And then we got this beauty that started coming in, which is going to be a massive size up compared to what we've been seeing. Obviously starting to harden off. That's why it's kind of starting to give that weird kind of brownish pinkish color on it. But definitely going to be a nice one. Definitely for the most part not deformed. It is doing that thing though where it's growing so rapidly that it almost can't keep up with its growth. So I don't know if you guys can see, but like the end of it's going to be a little bit damaged. It's not going to be like a perfect tip. And that's just what happens sometimes with Anthetherum. It's like they grow so fast, they don't have time to let the leaf fully develop to the rate it needs to, and then it gets a hole or a tear or something like that, which I'm going to show you another one here in a bit that I was just like, I don't even know what just happened here. This is like that one, we'll say that one for last. That's the craziest leaf size up I have had ever on an Anthetherum. But so that's kind of what's going on in my life, you guys. Let me catch up on the chat. If I had to choose one plant, what would I choose? Okay, so I can't choose just one. I actually did a video, I think around this time last year. Pretty sure it's called something along the lines, if I could only choose one or something of that nature. And I actually say in that video, out of pretty much every genus that I own, which single plant I would choose to keep in that genus if I could only keep one. So I would go check that video out. I cannot pick just one plant. I don't even know. Somebody, people always ask me like, well, if there was a fire and you had to grab one plant, I'm like, first of all, I'm not going to be thinking about that. I'm going to be thinking about grabbing my 3 cats, right? But even if I had time to think about grabbing a plant, like I would obviously be grabbing whatever's closest to me. Like that's my favorite, not my actual favorite, because what if my actual favorite is all the way on the other side of the house that's already engulfed in flames? You know what I mean? So it's not really the most like helpful question, I guess, to answer, if that makes sense. Yeah, that new leaf is going to be big. I think you were talking about the one on the I don't know. Were you talking about the one on the David Portilla or the one on the, or this one? Because this one's definitely gonna get really big. Or maybe it was the last one. I lost track of when that comment came in. Never trust anyone you work with. Work relationships are best kept at work. Yeah, and to a certain point, I agree with that. My only, see, I have a sort of problem with that because like Megan's one of my best friends and like we met in a work environment. So it's like, and we've remained friends for, I mean, it's been, let me think. I think we worked at that place like, I don't know, 17 years ago, 15 years ago, something around there. So we've been friends for a long time since she got fired from there and then I eventually left. So yeah, I think you can find really good friends, but I think like at a certain point, yeah, you do have to be kind of careful because there are a lot of people out there who will try to be super friendly buddy buddy with you and then just be like claiming your ideas behind your back. I've had that happen a lot as their own, and you know, just anytime they have an opportunity to get ahead, they will throw whoever they can under the bus, and they could be the nicest people to your face, but at the end of the day, a lot of people approach career as I'm looking out for number one and number one is me, right? You know? So yeah, I can definitely see that. See, yeah, you can't choose just one plant either. I know it's so hard. Do I know anything about jewel orchids? You won one? So, okay, jewel orchids, you guys, beautiful plants. Love jewel orchids. Have thought about getting a jewel orchid. Actually saw one at a local Callaway's recently and was shocked because I've never really seen them like just in stores around here, like in chain stores around here, like our boutique plant shops like Peta's Planters and things. Definitely have seen them there, but other than that, haven't really seen them. But here's the thing you guys need to understand is a lot of people just hear orchid or see orchid and they think of your regular like phalaenopsises that you see at the grocery store and whatnot, where you've got just the green leaves. They're kind of oval shaped and kind of rainbow out like this, and then your flower stalk comes up from the center and it typically just grows in that same pattern. More leaves just come out from that same crown on the plant and kind of rainbow outward or arch outward, I guess, and then you get your flower stalks. Jewel orchids do not grow that way at all, okay? Jewel orchids grow like Tradescantia. So if you're not familiar, Tradescantia grow like weeds, all right? And they really like to sprawl out, big time sprawl out. They're actually crawling plants. Jewel orchids grow in that same fashion. Like just look up Tradescantia and look up a jewel orchid and just look at how the leaf and the stems look side by side and you'll see it. So it's definitely going to grow very differently than non-jewel orchids. It definitely prefers more space to sprawl, but also you don't want to have, you know, too big of a pot for the root system. Just as with all plants, you don't want it to end up potentially rotting. So just be mindful of that, but it will start to, if it doesn't have space to just kind of sprawl on the soil, it will start to crawl over and down the sides of the pots and start to kind of look a bit trailing. And I think a lot of people aren't prepared for that. So just be aware that that is kind of how that plant goes. I do believe, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure they all grow on the forest floor. Hold on, I got my computer up. And I think that's another thing people get confused about is like your Phalaenopsis orchids are epiphytes, so they're growing on the sides of trees, like they're true epiphytes. They're growing on the sides of trees in the wild, but your jewel orchids are not. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like some do climb. It looks like this may be a bit more, so a lot of them do grow on the jungle floor because I'm looking at actual pictures of them in the wild. It does look like some can grow on the sides of trees, but it looks like they're hemiepiphytes. It looks like they're probably starting on the forest floor and then they're growing up over like the top of a tree root that is above ground and then growing on that wood. So it's also looks like it's going to depend on the exact type of jewel orchid that you got. So I would definitely see if you can figure out the exact type it is and kind of research how it grows in the wild and try to mimic that to the best of your ability. Ugh. Okay, so the whole leave it in moss, no soil thing, take that with a grain of salt. I do not like leaving just Phalaenopsis orchids, the one that I bought my sister and was taking care of, trying to keep that thing alive for like a little over a month while I was waiting till she came up here for Thanksgiving to give it to her. I was questioning if I was screwing it up when it was in moss, so I ended up repotting that one, even though they also told me to leave that Phalaenopsis in moss, and I was like, no. So I switched it to an orchid bark mix, and it did better in my care in that, and it's done fine in my sister's care. It did bloom recently for her, and it looks gorgeous. All of her orchids are blooming and looking gorgeous and bloom all year round. Like, she really should start her own YouTube channel all about orchids. So that's really up to you. Once again, I don't know exactly what kind of jewel orchid you have, so I would look up how they grow in the wild and kind of simulate that environment. If it is one that looks like it typically is growing on like the wood base of a tree, then you obviously can grow it in something that's not moss. And so in that situation, I would probably treat it very similar to a Phalaenopsis and just do a like chunky orchid bark setup. But again, it really just depends on the exact one you have. Oh no. You've been rescuing them all from the store. How are they doing? I think, like, okay, I don't think my sister's quite gotten into the I'm gonna rehab orchids from the store, but she did get a new one recently, and I don't know if it was a gift from my brother-in-law or somebody else, or she actually bought one herself, because I feel like I don't think she actually bought any of the orchids prior to this new one, because I don't know how she got that one. But prior to this new one, I don't think she had actually personally bought any of the orchids she had. I think they've all been gifted to her by people. Ooh, I'm not familiar enough with jewel orchid names to know what that one is, but I'm gonna look it up, assuming I can spell it correctly. I'm certainly not gonna try to pronounce that out loud. Oh, that's a pretty one. If you guys are on a computer, or if you're able to look on your phone without exiting out of the live, copy and paste what Annette just posted in the chat and look at it. That is a very pretty one. Let's see if we can find in the wild. All right, all the pictures I'm seeing of it in the wild, it's growing on the forest floor. So you should be able to grow this in something other than moss if you want to. I'm not saying you can't try to do it in moss. It's really about what you're most comfortable with. I personally am not entirely comfortable growing plants in moss. I will rehab occasionally in moss, obviously, but honestly, this one's been in this moss long enough that I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about it, which is why I'm going to be transferring this to, what did I say? Did I say pond earlier? Like, I'm going to transfer it to pond, because I bought pond back in October to start experimenting with for you guys, and I haven't done it yet because life. And so, like I said, I ordered some more, and I didn't have self-watering pots, so I ordered some new self-watering pots, and I'm going to try this one in pond, because all my other rehabbed anthuriums that I've ended up moving to semi-hydro, I put them in leca, and they've been liking that. So, and I know a lot of people who grow them in pond as well, so I'm going to try that one in pond and see how it goes. Let's look at another planty update. I have 3 more I pulled. Okay, so this is my Anthetherum Pink Lemonade by Dress Leary. I think that's all this cross is. Oh wait, there's still a tag. Yes, Pink Lemonade by Eastern Dress Leary. Beautiful velvety green leaves. This leaf is not looking as dark as it once did, but that might just be because it's getting ready to kill it off or something, because it finally, haven't had a new leaf on this one in forever. I don't even remember. Probably last spring. It's probably been almost a year. Finally, we got a new one coming in, nice and pinky looking. Definitely gets that pink lemonade coloring going on it. When it comes in, it looks like it's going to be pretty pristine. Does look like it's going to be a little bit of an asymmetrical leaf possibly, But I'm just happy that it finally gave me a new leaf. I was so excited. Like I told you guys, it's like I trash talked in my spring purge video those Anthetherum that I'm going to purge. And the rest of the Anthetherum were like, we don't want to get purged. Let's start pushing out some big, beautiful new leaves so she won't get rid of us. So super excited about that. And then the Hoya that I was telling you guys about, hold on, it's way over here. So I had mentioned that my Hoya Matild has been pumping out a bunch of new growth. So finally getting new vines and everything. I'm starting to think that the flat mites that were on the Warskawesii, which this was living next to, either came from this plant or they traveled to this plant, because I wasn't getting like any new growth going on. And then since I've been doing the sulfur sprays on these, we're getting all kinds of new growth going on. So I'm almost 100% positive that there were flat mites just hanging out here, but I wasn't actually seeing flat mite damage. So I don't think it was like a crazy amount or anything like that. But the most exciting thing I noticed the other day is this plant got its first peduncle. So there's the first peduncle right there. So we are going to get first bloom ever on the Hoya Matild splash here. So I was super excited about that. I think I've had this plant for, it'll be 2 years in May now. So not the slowest in terms of flowering. I've had some Hoyas I've owned, like my Wayettii. It took way longer than that to get their first blooms, but also hasn't been the fastest. But once again, I suspect now that we may have had a pest issue going on, but super excited to see that going on. And also super excited that none of the cats just randomly like have been attacking that plant, because it's been living up on my dresser, which honestly, Scooter can't really get up on the dresser, and George doesn't try to attack my plants. So really, let's just say I'm happy Theo didn't attack that plant and try to eat it. So yeah, all right. What else we got going on? What's everybody else been up to? Has everybody else had a good week at least? Anybody else been being put through the ringer? Let us lift you up if you need it. That's a good point about orchids can be hard because people need to figure out kind of the correct medium, especially based on where they live. And then also, I think also based on their watering habits and making sure that they're not keeping it too wet too long. Let's see, Chris said all of my orchids are in reptile bark from a pet big box store. Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, that's the equivalent to like the orchid bark that a lot of people use. Just the real popular one now is, what is that called? Horchata, I think, is the really popular orchid bark mix that a lot of people are using for orchids right now, or at least a lot of the people I'm seeing sharing online about their orchids are using. Ooh, mealybugs. Ugh. Luckily, you guys, mealybugs are relatively easy to eradicate just because you can kill them on contact with alcohol. Like, I know a lot of people like just, well, first of all, I hate mealies, but I know a lot of people are just like, mealies are the worst. I still hands down maintain that spider mites and flat mites are the worst. I would almost say flat mites are worse than spider mites, just because at least spider mites at a certain point you're gonna have webbing, so you'll know they're there. Whereas flat mites can get way more heavily infested before you ever realize you have flat mites. I mean, I really just need to change my mind. I always said spider mites were the worst. I just need to accept the fact that flat mites are the worst and just say that from now on moving forward. They are awful. Mealybugs, at least you can see them, and you can see them relatively quickly before you have a bad infestation, and they are way easier to eradicate because, once again, just alcohol will do it. And mealies don't have as high a tendency to become resistant to various pest treatments than spider mites and flat mites do. Spider mites in particular can become very immune if you're using the same particular spray or element. It's not even the spray, it's whatever the ingredient is that's actually supposed to be killing them. They can become resistant to that real quick. And then you just struggle to get rid of them. And I will tell you guys, I've been using the paintbrush technique, just a soft bristled paintbrush when I'm treating for pests now, regardless of what it is, with the exception of the sulfur spray, because with the sulfur spray, you want that powdery sulfur to stay on the leaf, because then when new eggs hatch, they hatch into this sulfur-ridden environment on your plant and they can't survive. So with sulfur spray, I just spray it down and I let it dry and I just leave it like that for months. I don't wash off the sulfur because it's gonna kill anything that hatches. But with other pest treatments, I have started doing these spray it on and then use a paintbrush to really rub it in. And using the paintbrush also helps remove eggs off of the leaves. And I have found that has really helped. I'm actually getting ready, and I've been toying with whether I'm going to film this for you guys or not, because you're going to think I'm crazy. I was like, I could film this, but people are going to be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? So as you guys may or may not know, depending if you saw the video a while back, I somehow ended up with spider mites on my giant green monstera that I can't move anywhere to spray down. And so I did do a round of beneficial bugs on it. Actually, I think 2 rounds. I still don't feel like I've gotten rid of all the spider mites. It's still a minor infestation. I haven't seen any webbing or anything like that. But what I think I'm gonna do, because I do, prior to discovering the spider mites, I do have little microfiber gloves that I would use to dust that plant sometimes, just like sandwich the leaves between my hands with the gloves on to get the dust off. I think what I'm gonna do, and obviously I will put like latex gloves on beneath the microfiber gloves when I do this. I think I'm gonna pour out a bunch of pest spray into a bucket, and I'm gonna dip the gloves in the bucket, and I'm just going to wipe it on to every individual leaf and every individual petiole on that plant, because that's the only way I can really think of where I could kind of do it without making a giant mess and without having to move that plant, because I can't move it anywhere to spray it. So I've been contemplating this. I don't know. Do you guys think I'm crazy? Like, I feel like it would work. I feel like I would try to do it with a paintbrush, but I did that on my Plowmanii because it's a pain to move. It's real heavy and awkward. So I did that with my Plowmanii, just dipping it in the pest spray and brushing it on to get rid of spider mites on that plant. And that worked, but when you're using the brush, it drips everywhere. So I had to put like towels on my dining room table, and I set the plant on there, and the towels just caught all the drips. But I feel like it's going to be harder for me to do that on my monstera because yes, I could put towels all under there, but also I would have to like put the cats in another room while I was doing it to keep them out of it. And anytime I close Theo into another room, he gets destructive. He like unrolls a whole thing of toilet paper, knocks things over and breaks them. So I'm thinking maybe I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to try the glove thing, and maybe I will film it for you, although I'm going to get all kinds of crazy comments about how I'm probably killing myself. But but I'll have the latex gloves underneath it, so it's not like it's going to be getting into my skin or whatnot. It's just kind of the only thing I could think of that might actually like work without making a huge mess or having to deal with the cats getting into it or anything like that. Yeah, and see, that's what I do too with the alcohol and cotton pads and alcohol and Q-tips. I do that for mealies on the rare occasion that I have mealies, because that's usually kind of the easiest way to deal with that. And luckily, I haven't had mealies. Well, I take that back. I did have one plant that had mealies that had a lot of tiny little leaves and tiny little crevices. That was really hard to deal with. Like, I had to spray that one because trying to go, it was a huge plant too, trying to go around and find the mealies everywhere with like alcohol Q-tip, alcohol pad thing was just not working on that one. But other than that, like the rest of my plants would be like, if this got mealies, this is real easy to just take a cotton pad with alcohol or Q-tip with alcohol and just get everywhere and get the mealies off. And I might have to do it twice and then they would be gone. I probably might even be able to get away with just doing it once, because there's not a lot of places for them to hide on something like that. So really depends on the plants. Just like this monstera situation I'm dealing with, this plant is so huge it makes it more difficult to deal with a pest issue. All right, I will film that for you guys. I guess like part of me is like, maybe I should, well, okay, here's what I'll do. I will film it, and if it works well, I will release that video. If it doesn't work well, I don't know if it's worth it putting it out there to be like, well, that was a bust. So I think what I'll do is I will film it, it will treat it as long as this works well, then yeah, I'm going to release this and be like, hey guys, this is a great way to deal with treating big plants for pests. If it doesn't work, I will try to find a different way that works. And once I find a way that works, that will be what I release to you, because I don't want to waste your time with something that doesn't work. So speaking of, is there any other types of videos people want to see coming up? I'm thinking, I know you guys have really liked when I've been going to my friend's house and filming their plants and things, and my friend Amanda, who I've been friends with since I was 7, she has acquired quite a few plants from me at this point. I didn't really realize how many she's acquired, and she's acquired a lot of plants on her own as well. She does do outdoor gardening, but her indoor plant collection's gotten not as big as mine, but it's gotten way bigger than when she first got a few plants, to the point where I think her husband is like, can we stop now? Like, can we quit bringing new plants home? And so I was thinking maybe I could go film a little tour at her house, and kind of, you guys can see how the plants that she got from me and everything are doing. And one of them, she sent me a picture the other day, and I was like, that is not the plant you bought from me. There is no way that is the plant you bought from me. I'm like, what are you feeding that thing? It's crazy how big it's gotten. So I don't want to spoil it if I can go film. She's just got 2 children in high school now, so and her husband travels quite a bit for work, so things are a little bit chaotic in her life. And so it would just be a question of trying to figure out when I would be able to go over there and do it, which honestly, it would probably work out best if maybe her kids had like sporting events or something, if I could just go over there when nobody's there, you know, and that way nobody feels like they're interrupting anybody's schedules or anything like that. Different varieties of Hoyas and of pothos. So I actually do have a video for each of those that are my top 10 like favorites at the time. I should probably do an updated, the pothos video I don't even think is that old. I think the pothos video was maybe a year ago or so, of my favorite pothos varieties. My Hoya video is a little bit old. Maybe I should do some updated top 10 videos, because it's definitely going to have changed over time for sure. I do think I still want to do an update for you guys on leca, growing in leca, since it's been well over, I guess it's been almost 2 years now that I've been growing in leca, and I haven't done an update video to like give you guys any kind of insight into things I've changed about how I'm doing it, if I've changed products and whatnot. So probably need to do that for you guys. I don't know, I'm just kind of not sure what else to do. And the other thing is, it's like all the educational videos that I like to do for you guys, I kind of do so much like scripting and, you know, double checking my research knowledge and everything on those to make sure I'm not saying something wrong. And that kind of is adding to that stress I was talking about earlier in this video, and kind of the burnout and everything from that. But I do still want to do more of those. I think I just need to get hopefully back to a place where I feel like I can actually have a little bit more of a set schedule to be able to do that. I do still have on my list to film for you how to take care of rust. If you get rust on your plant, it's going to be a real short video. And I also had on the list, what was the other one? I can't remember now. I had another one that was something along the lines of what to do if this happens on your plant. I don't know, can't remember. Might come back to me in a second. Oh, not a favorite, but like what different types are there? Well, I do cover different types in that video as well, even though they are my favorites. And as far as pothos goes, like it kind of depends on what you're defining as pothos, because technically actual pothos are not what we see in our stores, right? There is an actual genus pothos, but the things we call pothos are not actually in that genus. So for pothos, you've got your Scindapsus and you've got your Epipremnum. And I've never done a video on Scindapsus, probably because Scindapsus and I don't get along, but I could do a video on various varieties of Scindapsus. I have done one on the various varieties of Epipremnum. But once again, I usually, when I do videos on the different varieties, usually I do like, here's my favorite varieties, right? Because obviously they're my favorite. So that's the ones I'm gonna like gravitate towards. But there are like a lot of different types of Epipremnums going on right now out of Asia, basically various places in Asia and whatnot. That's where kind of some of the exciting new ones are coming from. Let's see, did I miss anything else major? Somebody was, oh, super excited about peduncles on your Hoya Matild. Oh my gosh, what do they smell like? You don't like the smell of them? Chris, tell me what they smell like. I've never smelled one. You guys know I buy my Hoyas for the foliage. I buy my Hoyas for the foliage. If they have blooms that look pretty too, that's great. That's an added bonus. But since they're not necessarily always going to be in bloom, I just buy them if I like the foliage. And then if I like the blooms too, that's like an added bonus. But I also don't want a super smelly bloom. Somebody was talking about I can't even remember which Hoya it is now. No, maybe it's not even a Hoya. Maybe it's one of the Anthetheums that everybody talks about that smells like cat pee. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't want anything blooming in my house that smells like cat pee. It's not a good smell. Where are you, Chris? Come back and tell me what that flower smells like so I can be prepared. Does anybody else have a Hoya Matild that's bloomed and knows what they smell like? Oh, okay. I've been there on the Monstera thing too. I've been looking at my giant green Monstera lately, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this thing in a year? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna have, but mine's still like 9 vines in one pot. So first thing I would do is basically chop that thing down to kind of make it not as broad. But then at a certain point, it's gonna get really tall too. I don't know. But I feel you on that one. I feel you on that. What am I gonna do with this Monstera? Some Hoyas smell like cat pee too. Yours hasn't bloomed yet. And I don't know. All of my my Hoya blooms so far, the ones that I like the smell of least are the ones that smell really chocolatey. I just don't like the smell of like chocolate per se. I'm not a huge chocolate person in general, but smelling chocolate, I don't know. It's not like the normal chocolate smell, like when you're like baking with chocolate. It's kind of a weird chocolate smell. It seems kind of slightly off, but still has that hint of chocolate, if you know what I mean. Those are not my favorite, but they're also not overly fragrant. The few Hoyas I have that smell like that, I absolutely love. Like, I have yet to have a Hoya bloom that had a white flower that didn't smell good. Like, all of my Hoyas that have white flowers smell lovely, like honeysuckle-ish type scent. For example, on my Hoya croniana, which was massively in bloom. I don't know if anybody saw the story I posted on that plant a few weeks ago. I mean, it had like at least 20 blooms all over it. I was like, oh my gosh. And they were all like open at the same time. And then they all died at the same time. So now it has no blooms, but it will bloom again. But it smelled so good in my living room when all those were open at the same time. It was fabulous. Highly recommend Hoya cronianas. I feel you on the allergies. Don't. Luckily, I don't have allergy issues, but oh my gosh, people I know who have allergy issues, I feel for you. 100%. Okay, I think Chris left us. She just left me hanging, not knowing what my Hoya Matild is going to smell like. All right, you guys. Well, we have been at it for about an hour, so I'm going to show you the last plant that I have to give an update on, and I think we are going to wrap it up. Hello, welcome. I'm about to wrap it up, but welcome. So let me grab this last plant. And you guys, this is my original silver blush. So this was the first Anthetherum I ever got. This is the normal size leaves that I've been getting for years now. They've never gotten bigger than this, but this is a smaller leafed, more compact in general type of Anthetherum. But will you just look at what happened? Like, what happened here? What is this? What is this monstrous leaf it has given me? Like, this came out of nowhere. Look how much like taller, like even when this one wasn't tilting downwards, this petiole is like less than half the length of this leaf's petiole. And this is still hardening off, it's still getting bigger. And remember when I was talking earlier about how sometimes the leaves grow too quickly for themselves? This leaf's been growing way too quickly for itself. So it's been splitting and getting little holes in it. But you guys, look how massive it is. Look, this thing is huge, like for a silver blush. It's so big and it's so tall, and I'm just like, oh, hello. And once again, it's not even done hardening off. This happens with the silver blushes when they go from kind of a pinky color when the leaves first come in, and they look yellow for a while, and you think the leaf is like dying or something, but it's just the color that it turns when it starts to go harden off into the green color. But yeah, this thing is massive. This came out of nowhere. I was just like, oh my goodness. That is a size up. That is a serious size up right there. So that was probably the most shocking one to me. Like, I mean, I was excited when I saw it was getting a new leaf, but then when I turned around one day and it was this big, I was like, what is going on with you? But yeah, so those are the plants that have been helping make my crappy week better. And honestly, I'm not even sure I would have noticed as many of these things going on, such as like the new peduncle, the first peduncle on the Hoya Matild, if I hadn't just been in such a poor like mental state this week that it kind of made these things stand out a little bit more. But all of that to say, you guys, hopefully next week is going to be a better week. I still am not 100% what my plan is on kind of getting myself back to where mentally I feel a little bit better and I'm not going to have like such a massive breakdown if one little thing, like, not that was a little thing, but one thing goes wrong, like what happened this week. I don't know if that's going to mean cutting back on YouTube. Like, I really don't want it to mean that. But once again, as I mentioned earlier, since that is the when you break it down to the number of hours I spend versus what I actually make from the YouTube videos themselves, when you break that down to like how much per hour I'm making, like it is definitely the least profitable thing, but I really like doing it. So I'm gonna have to make a decision, right? And even if that decision might be just like backing off to every other week, you guys get a video or something like that so that it's a little bit more manageable and a little bit less stressful, but we'll see. I might do some more live streams. Do you guys like the live streams? Let me know. Well, it's only the second one I've done. I may be being horrible at these live streams, and I honestly don't attend a lot of other live streams, so feel free to let me know how I'm doing. But that's kind of where everything is at, so I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give it a like if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Aloha!